People have a lot of funny ideas when it comes to being rich. And also many people don't understand the power or the magic of generosity. Because generosity, it looks like it's something you do for others only and you don't get any benefit. And with this kind of understanding, it's no wonder that people don't find themselves that often being generous. However, when you truly understand the power of generosity, you will never look at your life the same way you used to. And you will also understand the main secret of being rich, actually. Being generous is the character of successful people. And truly, getting the clue, the logic behind it. This is what we are going to talk about in this video. So let's have a cozy time together, cozy evening or morning. I don't know what it is for you, watching me from around the world anyway. And if you're new, this channel is for people who look for freedom, who want to build a purposeful business, to benefit other people, to build the freedom in life so that you can actually do what you want. Consider subscribing to this channel. Anyway, now we dive into this topic, why generosity is actually the superpower that makes you rich. And before I dive into the 4 basic types of generosity, I want you to understand that you have to be generous with yourself as well. It's not only about other people. The logic behind it is that you can't really be very generous if you are not investing in yourself. People who are generous, they are wealthy, they are open, they have this surplus, the space in mind for other people, they are kind. These kind of people are very often generous, and they are very often the people who took care of themselves, invested in themselves and so on. So every type of generosity I'm going to talk about here is something that you have to apply to yourself as well. I don't say first because, logically it should be like you invest in yourself first, become strong, and then you are able, strong and rich, and then you're able to give. But actually it's both and, in the way that both, it's true, you need surplus to be truly generous, but also you have to practice generosity. You have to practice generosity to yourself and to others, no matter where you are at the moment. This is the authentic way to get rich, and this is the way that wealthy people behave, and this is the way that people from the high class behave, because they have the surplus, they have the extra time even, and understanding that others are more and you're just one. So it really makes sense. And if you have enough, it becomes also more natural to share. You get more and more joy from it. You also can see the results of your contribution to the society, and altogether it makes you basically very rich. So the first way you can be generous is money. It's that simple, but it's also very, very tricky. When it comes to being generous towards yourself with money, then it actually means that you have to invest into assets that are going to, protect your future and your freedom tomorrow. And on my channel, you can find videos where I talk about investments in general, if you want to know more. When it comes to this level of I'm giving money to somebody just to, protect somebody who has no money to eat or something, just to cover basic needs. This is unfortunately very rare that you can do it right. Because very often when we give people some money who don't have enough, you never know how they are going to spend it. And there are so many cases when people get money and they spend it for wrong reasons. So what I do here, when I see people really suffering and not having basic needs met, I just offer something instead of money, some food, for example. If I see a homeless person on the street and I feel like I want to contribute and support, this poor being in this situation, then I just ask would it be okay for you if I buy some food for you? And those who really need, they say yes. And some say no, I just want money. And then probably they're not hungry then, yeah? So I was gonna just go to the shop and buy something that it's easy, to eat right away, like a sandwich or a banana, something that you don't have to wash, you don't have to cook. So even a homeless person can, get benefit right away from it. And I've done it. And it always worked, for people who really need, they always say yes. And this way you can be sure that this is not going to be spent on alcohol, for example. I know a woman when I go shopping and sometimes I see her, I'm not sure if she's mentally okay, but she's always asking for money for cigarettes. She's literally asking people, I need money for cigarettes. And I don't know why she's saying that, but anyway, I never give her money. And I know a recent case, a friend of mine gave some money to another person who said, I don't have enough money, and he had trouble with alcohol. And he said, I don't have enough money just for basic needs, for food. And this friend just gave him money, and immediately the guy bought a bottle of some hard liquor, got really drunk, and the next day he had a stroke. We found him in the hospital. When he called, he could barely talk, because of the stroke. And we came to the hospital, and the other guy told me the story that he gave him the money just the other day, for basic needs, and he got drunk, and the result was that he destroyed his health. What I'm trying to say, and I know a lot of other cases, sometimes people try to use the money for better, but it turned out to be the wrong way, so even people with good motivation, you never know how they're going to invest the money that you gave them, no matter if you gave them a little bit or not, so it's very tricky with the money. When you being generous to yourself, it can also be tricky. You have to make your own research, like where to invest and so on. And it's also tricky when you want to give money to somebody else, For example, you shouldn't give really money to children if they don't want to go to school, I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I've been to India, I saw it's like a business, and they never want to go to school. They never get this idea, because this is how they get the money, and this is how they grow up and continue this way. They don't know the other way from the very young age, and it's terrible. It's just an example. India came to my mind. I mean, you can see it all over the world. And when it comes to grown-up, it also, grown-ups should be able to take care of themselves unless they are, in a situation, probably temporary, or where they need support. But in general, it's not good to support somebody just being lazy. So it's very tricky. Let me know if you understand my point here, and maybe you have some different thoughts, but being generous with money is not so easy in the way that you never know. So better you go to the supermarket with a person who is in need and buy something that will actually make sense. If you want to be sure that your generosity is going to the right direction and not destroying somebody's life, basically, or somebody's health. And the second kind, how you can be generous, is with education. You can support somebody's education. And especially when it comes to children, I think it's a great way. There are no cases where you shouldn't support children with education, because this is what they need. When it comes to grown-ups, it's tricky. They should be able to support themselves and really also invest in their education. If it's like still very young adults, maybe it's okay, to support, but in general, it's good if people can take care of themselves. Because sometimes when we spoil people in their young age, that can be that they are not motivated enough to really get results, to really fight for it. And when they had to go more harder way, then they are really, focused and really invested into the process and the goal. So it can also be tricky. But when it comes to being generous to yourself with this one, then I can only support, everything which is educating, be it, invest in some interesting book or some maybe useful course, or just spend some time with some YouTube channel where you actually get interesting ideas, where you learn, where you become a part of the community of people, who want to make this world a better place, So it can be any kind of education, free or paid. I can only support that. Yeah, it's really, but it's more like when it comes to others, it's mostly that you can do it for children and not for grown-ups. So it's also tricky, And at the end, you never know what would be the motivation of this person as well. If people get education, but they don't have the right motivation, you don't really know what would be the outcome. But in case of children, it usually makes sense. What do you think? I'm sharing with you my observations, my experience, but I would like also to learn from you. And the third type of being generous that I want to talk about it, and I really love this one, because this one really has no limits to how much you can give to yourself and to others, is kindness. It's just being kind. And it's very generous. It's something that our society really needs. And you can never get enough. You should be generous, with yourself as well. Don't be too hard on yourself, don't expect always too much and, punish yourself for not having done enough or something like that, Give also yourself time, care and loving attitude towards yourself. And then towards others as well. Give people time. Talk to them, listen to them. Just give them a smile. Just be kind. And do it, very important here, that you do it without expecting anything back. This is a very hard one. But you really can feel with different people, sometimes you find some people who are like, they are okay to do nice things, but they always ask something in return, and it feels a little bit funny because you want a more genuine contact. You want, you don't mind to give something back, but when you already feel like people already are waiting for, to pay back basically, then it feels like something is being sold here, Like, you give me this, I gave you this, and, And it's a very hard one also for me sometimes in business, when I do something. Sometimes I catch myself with having those thoughts that I would love to get something back, In life, I don't catch myself with these thoughts, but in business I do. And I'm very convinced that also in business you should have this attitude, you just give. And some people will buy also. But this is usually a small percentage of people. Most of people who you give are not going to buy anything from you. For example, most of people watching this channel are not going to buy, the products I have. But it's also fine, Some people will just benefit from this video, and it's already great. I'm thankful for having this opportunity to be beneficial to you, no matter if you give me something back or not. And this should be the main motivation, always, also in business. And in most of cases, I manage quite well on this one. But sometimes I want you to give me something back. Like, leave me a comment or give me a like. And it's appropriate in business also to ask for something like a comment or a like or any kind of support. But the best is really not to think about it. But because it's so common to ask in return, to do something, then, it's already like deep inside of my mind, this habit. So I will probably continue doing it. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you give this video a like if you are getting value, and if you watch so far, it feels like you like it. So leave me a comment. It's a very controversial topic because people don't think this way. They think getting rich is when you take, but it's counterintuitive, because actually being rich is when you give. The more you give, the richer you become. Yeah? And if you are very tight in your mind, you don't even have the idea to be rich, because you're more like you always need something. You're more very needy. It's not about being rich. So I'm really curious what you think about this topic. So when it comes to this one, from my experience, sometimes I can be a little bit hard on myself, but I try to be kind. And I really try to be kind to other people. Give them attention, give them the time they need. This is really something I try to practice. Like even thinking about it, like planning what I can do for others. Like what can I do today to make somebody happy? And the fourth thing, how you can be generous with yourself and others and to become really rich, is investing in the understanding that mind is king. Being mindful, being aware. This is the generosity that can never go wrong, when it comes to children, grown-ups, or whatever. And how I do it, practically, I support some, I also donate to some organizations which I find, to my taste, they're doing something good to make this world a better place. Or I support the channels of people, I watch the channels of the people who are doing something great. I really give them likes, I really, subscribe and leave them comments and so on, because I think it's a great act of generosity to support those kind of people, because those kind of people and those kind of organizations, they create conditions for other people to grow, to improve, and to, in fact, create a different universe. This understanding and experience that you can create your own universe the way you want, and that you can influence other universes this way. This is such a gift. So making sure that you work on your mind, you learn something to, be more aware, be more mindful, and so on. And support those people and those organizations who are also going in this direction. So we were talking about 4 types of being generous: financial, like just basically money, then education, then being kind, and being mindful. So those 4, and out of those 4, the third and the fourth one are the most strongest, are the most powerful, and something that can really change your world and change the world around you. And when you get this motivation of being kind, and when you get this understanding of that everything is possible, it's all in your hands, you can do it, this makes you so rich that whatever you do will only contribute to you becoming more and more rich, and in your mind, also on the outer level, financial, on the level of getting freedoms and so on. I can't imagine anything better than that. But maybe there's something I'm missing, so I would like to hear from you what you think. Otherwise, watch some other videos on this channel, and I will see you in the next video. Good luck.